Well, good afternoon, everyone. We will get started in just a couple of moments. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, July 16th. It's 3:02 p.m. And this is the meeting of the Pikes Commission on Aging. This is Jody Barker, Director of the Area Agency on Aging. Madam Chair, we are ready to go, and we do have a quorum, so I'll hand that over to you to get started.
Thank you, Jody. And before we get into the meeting, I'd like us to go around the room and around the online presence and introduce ourselves. And Penny, can we start with you?
Sure.
Penny in the room.
I'm P2 in the room. P1 is online. Penny Whitney, Commissioner for the Colorado Commission on Aging, and JAWS. I represent a program of intergenerational collaboration between high school students and long-term care communities.
Madam Chair, Steve Schleicher, El Paso County Clerk and Recorder, and a representative of El Paso County.
Hi, Phil Stafford, my business, Independent Home Living, fall prevention contractor, and sitting on the board for A Place Like Home.
Kent Matthews, formerly of the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging, now retired, and on the board for A Place Like Home and also for Voices of Grief.
Hey, Carolyn, let's jump to you online. Carolyn, are you there? Okay, Laura Chronic. Can you all hear us?
I can hear you.
Is that Penny?
Yes, this is Penny.
Okay, Penny,
Thank
why don't you go?
Penny Everest, Executive Director of Park County Senior Coalition, Commissioner on Aging for Park County. And our mission is to keep seniors in their home as best able.
Great. Thank you, Wanda.
Wanda Wood, appointee of Paso County.
And Erin.
This is Erin Marizella. I'm appointed by the City of Colorado Springs.
Laura. Carolyn.
Hello. Okay.
Oh,
This is
okay.
hi. Sorry.
That's
This
okay.
This is Laura Chronic. I'm on the RAC. On the SRS, I'm also the council member of Town of Monument.
Great. Thank you, Laura. Carolyn? Okay, Joey? Mm-hmm. Joey, are you there? Okay, there she goes.
Can't unmute.
There you go. We hear you.
Can you? Oh, okay. It said on there that I can't unmute. Hi, I'm
Oh.
Joey Glenn, and I'm a commission on aging, and a retired and a volunteer, and going to do a presentation today. Thank you.
Great. Nice to have you here with us.
Thank you.
And Robert Foster.
Yeah, Bob Foster, President of Teller County Senior Coalition and potential member of this board, looking in for about an hour before I have to go.
Great. Glad to have you here. I think I got everyone. No, Carolyn, are you with us? Okay. Carolyn is. Well, Carolyn is one of our newer members on the commission. And we're glad to have her. Oh, can she unmute now? No. Right, we'll stop playing fish for Carolyn. My name's Paula Levy, and I'm the chair of the commission. I am a dementia care specialist and have my business Never Alone Consulting, where I help caregivers navigate a dementia diagnosis. And I'm also the founder of A Place Like Home Adult Day program, which hopefully we're getting very close to launching in the very near future. All right, moving on to the agenda approval. Do I have an emotion to approve the agenda as presented?
I so move.
Second.
I second.
Penny made the motion and Steve seconded. Great.
Just a moment for housekeeping. So, especially if you are online making a motion or primarily a motion, first or second, please make sure to state your name for the minutes so that we can also capture that in the recording. So, Penny, we got you first and Steve on second on that one. Thank you.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next is our consent items. And that would be our approval of minutes from the June 18th meeting. Those were sent out in our packet. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
Penny Whitney, I so move.
Kent Matthews, I second.
Any opposed? Please speak. Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Next, we're on item number 4, public comments and presentations. I believe we have 2 presentations today, and we will go with the guest in the. Oh,
yeah, those are going to come up a little bit later. So
okay. So
yeah.
Joey,
But later.
it's both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Item number 7 on the agenda. So we'll go through our information items and then we'll have the formal presentation.
So we don't have any public comments in the room or online.
Madam Chair, I'll ask anyone who's online who is not a member of the Commission on Aging to please use the raise hand function if they'd like to provide a public comment at this time. While we're allowing for that to happen, I'll just let the commission members know that we did not receive any advance requests for public comment. We did not receive any written public comment that we would have distributed to the commission members in advance of this meeting. As I've said that, I see no hands raised online, so I think we can continue at your discretion.
Okay, great. Next is number 5, action items, which I don't think we have any pressing action items. And now we are on item number 6, information items. And the first one is membership committee, and that would be Aaron.
Thank you, Paula. I don't have any updates from membership committee, other than I believe that Melissa has met with some individuals in Teller County. I believe it might have been Bob Foster who's here with us today. So, Melissa, do you have any updates on moving forward any membership applications or interest in Teller County?
So you are correct with Bob on the line today. And as he mentioned earlier, he's the chair of Teller Senior Coalition. And he did indicate that he would be interested in being appointed by Teller County, the Teller County Commissioners. So we'll be moving forward with him to do that, and also just have him fill out an application and forward that on to all the members of the Commission on Aging so you can see that. So by most likely our August meeting, Bob will be the newest appointee from Teller County.
Great,
Wonderful.
Bob. And while we, go ahead, Erin.
No, I was just saying wonderful. And thank you, Bob, for your interest and your volunteer spirit here to join our board.
And while you have a captive audience, do you have any questions right now before you take the dive? Okay, no. All right, we'll move on to Policy Committee. First being the Colorado Center for Aging report.
I don't have any updates from that group. I don't know if Erin has any. So that's what I thought. So they canceled the one for this week. But I don't know, Erin, do you have anything to add from CCA?
Yeah, I would say that we have our strategic planning session for the board at the end of July, and we are looking at building out a 1, 3, and 5 year strategy for that group. And really talking to the board members, they are, and having met with Next 50 and working really closely with Christine Burrows at CDHS on how to align our work with not only the multi-sector plan on aging, but how do we support local communities in training advocates for aging policy and older adult policy in Colorado. How do we give citizens the tools that they need to be effective advocates? And how do we keep people, how do we help people stay on top of the legislative process during the legislative session, which is very, very busy and fast moving? So our goals for coming out of our strategic planning session is to make sure that we are aligned in the ecosystem of aging services across Colorado. And there may be from this strategic session a fundamental rework of what the advocacy committee meetings look like, which is what Melissa was referring to. So we have, during the legislative session, we have a meeting about advocacy every Monday morning. So basically January through March, April, May, depending on how late it goes. And in the off season, we're trying to meet every other month. Or every other week, sorry. Just to have people come in and keep people abreast of changes in potentially upcoming policy issues that we can anticipate in the coming year, to just provide education and connect the dots across the state about things that are happening. So all of that to say, stay tuned. I think that probably this coming year in 2026 might look a little bit different than it did before. And of course, we're always seeking volunteers and people to join as members, as individual members, and as organizational members to help make sure that things like the advocacy days at the state capitol are ongoing, and that they're effective in showing legislators that people are showing up and that we as citizens care about policy that impacts older adults and aging in Colorado. And also, we're looking at the needs of our constituents in advocacy training. So we've had two really wonderful leaders in our advocacy training programs that we've had throughout the years at CCA, Rich Morrow and Jeanette Hensley. If anybody knows that pair, they are an unstoppable duo, and I don't know when they sleep because they do so much good work across the state. So we are anticipating some more advocacy training into 2026. So yeah, that's, I think, a good report from CCA. Does anybody have any questions about engaging or what to expect for the second half of this year or the next legislative session?
Erin, Penny, one of the
Yeah.
things that I would be interested in knowing, we have two students from the JAWS program here today that will be giving information. And one of the things that is probably, I don't know, that I have been most impressed with is the willingness of the students to look at the big picture of aging and to engage with community. Are there opportunities for young people through your training or specific engagement, whatever that might be, to actually become active in learning more about advocacy? Because having young voices at the table for issues for older people, I think is a powerful combination.
Yes, absolutely. The CCA is an organization that serves aging and older adults in Colorado. And so we really value voices of all ages and diversity of ages and stages on our board and at our meetings. And I would say that any individual can be a member of CCA. It does not matter where you live in Colorado. It doesn't matter what you do for work or how old or young you are. And anybody can attend our advocacy committee meetings on Monday mornings. So I would start there by getting connected and coming and joining us at our ACM meetings on Mondays. And yeah, we would love to have everyone in the room every day. So, or every Monday, you know. I will bring this question in particular to our strategy meeting to make sure that as we're thinking about our constituents, that we are not missing an opportunity to engage Coloradans of all ages. Let me put that down here. Thank you for bringing that up, Penny. That's a great question.
And just to note, they don't have to be a member to attend the meetings, correct?
Yes, anybody can attend the meetings. You don't have to be a member to join. The benefit of being a member, one of the current benefits of being a member is that you're able to vote on which policies are elevated during the legislative session, and you're able to help distill what direction we want to take our collective advocacy during that time.
Yeah, are you all doing, or this recent, I think in the springtime sometime, there was a policy and legislative advocacy workshop. Is that going to happen again in this next legislative season?
Yes, those are our advocacy trainings. And
oh, okay. All right. They're one and the same. Okay.
Yeah, yes. And
Great.
they may, I mean, we're looking at, from what I understand, I've only been engaged with this organization post-COVID. From what I understand, it used to be a lot of in-person trainings, and COVID changed the face of CCA a lot in that the board meetings are mostly virtual now. ACMs are virtual, so the Monday morning meetings are virtual, and we are looking at how we can expand our virtual advocacy training options. So I do anticipate there will be some in-person and probably virtual options as well. It's going to, I mean, I would watch for 2026 to see how those trainings change. And I would love to see us roll out more trainings even before the legislative session happens. But also, I feel like in making sure that we are carrying forward best practices from what we have been doing historically, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves and redesign our work away from what has been wonderful at the organization for the past 40 years.
Great. Thank you, Erin.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything else to add for that Colorado Center for Aging? If not, we'll move on to the PPACG Legislative Committee report. And that would be Jared approaching the podium with a quick jot.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jared Verner, Public Policy and Communications here at PPACG. So the committee is meeting monthly once again during the off session on the state side. Probably the biggest thing of note on the state side is if and when a special session is called. You know, a lot of it is in reaction to federal legislation that has been recently passed, but a lot of that stuff doesn't really kick in until next state fiscal year. So that's why I say if, because while we've seen a lot of, yes, there will be one, we haven't seen anything else beyond that. If there's a special session, the dates we're hearing would be mid-August, either the 11th or the 18th, depending on which lobbyist you talk to. On the federal side, the PPACG board actually did take federal positions for the first time. The one that will have the most impact for the aging services would be one that is actually one of the original sponsors is Congresswoman Pedersen, which represents Teller and Park, along with Jefferson and Fremont counties. That one would actually make give some flexibility, providing transportation in rural areas for veterans. And probably the biggest thing would make veteran service offices at the county level eligible for that grants that come from the VA. One that the PPACG is monitoring right now, just because we're still reviewing bill text, is actually S2120, which would be the reauthorization of the Older Americans Act. I'm personally about a third of the way through, so I still got a ways to go. It's about a 90-page bill. That has not been heard in committee yet. That is probably not one we'll see move until at the earliest after the August recess. But that's kind of the main stuff on the PPACG legislative side. They're continuing to meet the first Monday of each month, with the exception of September. That'll be the second Monday due to Labor Day. All right.
Any questions for Jared? Nope. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next is our Colorado Commission on Aging, which I know meets tomorrow. But do you have anything from the prior month?
I think, and I will certainly encourage Erin and Joey to chime in on this. I think the important thing is that the multi-sector plan on aging is now in place. And I think that it will be important for us to keep apprised and engaged with the development and the initiatives that are aligned with this, because it is an important step forward in our state and locally to identify the growing impact of older adults in communities and the services they receive. Joey sits on the workforce committee. I was not able to attend the last meeting. Joey, was there any particular insight that you would like to share from workforce?
Actually, it was today, and I did not attend because I'm technically on vacation. And so I was not able to do that today. But yes, I don't have any update. But they had a great agenda. I can tell you that. I looked at the agenda.
They always have great agendas.
Yes.
I think the important thing to know as workforce continues to be an issue, that the focus of the Commission on Aging workforce is really on the opportunities available for older workers. So that is something I know that's of high interest in our area. Penny from Park County sits on mental health. Penny, any updates that you would like to share with the commission on the mental health information from the last couple of meetings?
I did not participate in the last meeting. I had an appointment to go to, but I don't really have a whole lot of update except that we were going to regroup and rename the group, and that's where it left off.
Yeah, I think that the intent is to make the health perspective a little broader. But one of the areas is really focusing on what health services, particularly mental health services, are available or are not available in communities, particularly rural communities. Erin is the head, the lead, the chair of the policy. Anything from policy focus at Commission, Erin, that you would like to add?
Yeah, we are aligning the policy subcommittee with the multi-sector plan on aging. So when we, now that the multi-sector plan on aging has been released, there's going to be a change in the subcommittees at the Colorado Commission on Aging, and each subcommittee is going to serve one of the focal points of the multi-sector plan. And so if anybody here has noticed, I feel like every time someone is speaking to something that's going on in Colorado, it's all calling back to the multi-sector plan. And I would encourage everybody to read it. I can't remember how many pages Jared said was in that bill, 90 pages maybe. So we've all got some fun summer weekend reading ahead of us. But the multi-sector plan is really a really good roadmap for what we're going to be doing in Colorado for aging in the next year. So the public policy subcommittee is going to be dissolving as a unique subcommittee, and we are putting policy tactics and strategies into each of the other subcommittees going forward, so that it's not just one committee that's following policy, but each committee will be tasked with making sure that they are up to date with the pieces of the plan that align with legislative happenings at the state level, if you will.
Perfect. Thank you. Very, very helpful.
Okay, moving on is item D, Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments Board of Director items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, thank you. So we are sharing, as Jared mentioned, already having conversations around legislative priorities, recognizing that some may not happen until more detail may not come until after the August recess. But one area in particular I wanted to share was a recent webinar that we are members of the U.S. Aging National AAA Advocacy Group. As you know, I sit on the board of directors and serve on a membership committee and finance committee because of that role. And as members, we are able to connect through some of their updates and webinars. And as you may know, on July 3rd, the Big Beautiful Bill at the federal level was signed. And there's a lot of concern about what that is truly going to mean for services for folks across our region. I thought I'd touch very briefly. What we're going to do after I give my very brief update on this is offer, if you would like, we will send you the webinar with the slides. It's a really great overview from the policy director at US Aging, like I said, our national advocacy group, where they really break down funding, concerns around Medicaid cuts, SNAP cuts, and that kind of thing. So a little bit of clarity on that and kind of context to this. We We do not receive funding through Medicaid services. We do not receive funding through SNAP services. We are not an organization that can provide approvals in that. And so while while many of the changes that are happening within the federal level Big Beautiful Bill as it relates to funding and program changes over the next 10 years, they won't directly affect our immediate funding as it relates to the services that we provide under the Older Americans Act. Where we are already seeing some effects and expect to see these are people who are concerned. They're worried. They're worried about how their eligibility stands, and of course, like I mentioned, we can't respond to those. We don't have access to those decisions, but we can work with our partners around the community and DHS in particular to help answer questions as much as possible. But we are already seeing additional calls from current and active clients that we serve across a variety of areas, both internally and externally through our contracted providers across all 3 counties. But we're also seeing calls, an increase in calls from people that we don't provide direct services to, who are looking for answers, who are very worried. And some of those are simply because they can't reach the organizations that are providing their services, and because of the cuts that they're experiencing at both the federal levels and the federal offices across the United States. And so there's just a lot of deep concerns around how this is affecting and or going to affect the overall budget cuts that are recommended within this bill. Take place over a 10-year period. I was sharing with staff yesterday in our regular meeting that there is a lot of uncertainty. We have to be clear and upfront about that. There's just a lot of uncertainty around funding and bills and programs. But even in this first 6 months of this, where we find ourselves in this first 6 months, simply the fact that there are so many changes so often. And if we watch the news tonight, tomorrow could be very different. We just don't know what the things are going to look like. And so what I thought I'd do is touch very briefly. Like I said, we're not going to spend it's an hour-long webinar, so I encourage you to watch it, familiarize yourself with the slides and the information. This is one of the benefits. Not all AAAs have access to this. We are a member, and so we do get to have access to this kind of information. And it's really about their interpretation using nonpartisan information and resources, organizations that are watching these processes. And so, as you know, there are increases in the bills, but where we really are focusing on a variety of historically large cuts to Medicaid, about $1 trillion over 10 years, and SNAP benefits around $300 billion over 10 years. And as I mentioned, I always want to make sure the context is clear that we do not receive funding through Medicaid or SNAP, but our clients do. We have a mix of clients where some of their benefits may come from these 2 areas, and that's why we're receiving these additional phone calls and concerns from folks. Along with that, I thought I'd also share a lot of conversation around the new work requirements. The challenges around the work requirements are simply the fact that states cannot request a waiver. These are the work requirements as they stand right now. And so states have to abide by these as they're looking at especially in Medicaid. It does apply up to age 64. And as you know, we provide services for those over the age of 60. So there's a 4-year age span where our clients are going to be could be affected by this. But it also tightens the eligibility overall. with more frequent eligibility retests. The challenge that we see there that we've already been talking about as a state network and even at the federal level in this short time over the last couple of weeks is simply the fact that so many of these retests are difficult to do on the old schedule. And now they want to add to the schedule, which, when we really think about the overall processes, it just means potential for someone to drop off the rolls before their eligibility changes. And what is that going to look like and how is that going to affect our community members? So just really, really a lot of concerns there. So again, while we don't receive direct funding through these programs, our clients do. And that's the context that we have to work within. As Jared mentioned, the Older Americans Act did pass back in December through the Senate process when it under a federal consent process. But then when it went to the House, it was voted down by that system under consent. It can be one vote that votes it down. And that's the way it happened. Ironically, the same person who voted it down in December is now one of the sponsors of the new bill. We're told, and Jared and I have been chatting about this, he's a third of the way through. And I told him, well, you're a little bit farther than I am. But we're reading the new bill. And again, don't really expect that to come for a vote until after the August recess sometime. But one of the hopes ultimately is that they've effectively picked up what was already passed, because there was so much work that went into that bill. Both sides of both parties had input, and that's why it did end up going through a consent process, because all the work had been done, all the arguments had been made, all of the concessions had been made, and so there was a great hope that it would be done. Now, some people may equate no reauthorization with no funding. Fortunately, we go back to our 10th grade civics classes, and fortunately, that's not the way it works. We are in federal statute. The programs are under federal mandate, and right now we do have a budget, but we really need to get that finalized and that voted so we can continue moving forward, because right now, with no vote, no reauthorization, there's no opportunity for discussion of changes of the budget. So a lot of work going on there too. So just wanted to share that. Again, I mentioned with U.S. Aging, their national conference is next week. I have the privilege of presenting about the Pikes Peak Elder Justice Center with Dr. Gibson next Tuesday. So really excited about that. We put that application in, and fortunately, part of their theme for the conference is around elder justice, and we fit the bill. So very excited to be able to present with her. I've also been asked to join a transportation workshop, sitting on a panel around transportation programs, and that will be my entire Sunday morning. And so it's a 4-hour workshop that I'll be sitting on that panel. So, but really exciting things coming around. A lot of really neat programs happening across the nation and at the federal level. So more to come and more updates. So thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Where is the conference?
The conference is in Chicago this year.
Nice.
It was in Tampa last year. That was a little much in July. I'll admit, I have no desire to move to Tampa in July. So, but yes, it's in Chicago this year. And so really excited to participate in that as in continued levels. I was voted back by the contingency of my peers across AAAs and across the 4-state area to resume my work at the board level. So very excited to continue that with being a board member. So yeah.
Congratulations. Next is the chair report. And I just have to say I'm thrilled for the presentations for this afternoon. And I know that the work groups have been active and doing their work, which is refreshing because we've kind of been stagnant. So I'm anxious to get to those reports also. Other than that, I don't have much else to report. So we'll move on to presentations. And Joey, I believe you're up first. And I also want to recognize that we've had 2 commissioners join since we started, and that's Kathy Cerullo Smith and Dayton Romero. And we also have a guest from the AAA, Lucy Cahill. And I believe that's everyone online. So,
Paula,
yes.
before we pass over to Joey, can I have a moment to introduce her?
Absolutely.
So Joey Glenn served as the executive director of the New Mexico Association for Home and Hospice Care for 25 years. She is retired and continued to serve as their contract lobbyist for 40 years after she left that organization. She moved to Colorado in 2020 to live closer to her family. And I've known Joey since early 2023. We've worked on state level groups together. We now both serve on the Colorado Commission on Aging together. She was previously the chair of Next 50. And when I met Joey, she said to me, we're getting to know each other, and I'm in Colorado Springs and driving up to Denver and meeting her in meetings there. And she said, "You're in Colorado Springs?" She said, "Why do we not have a senior Olympics in Colorado?" She said it was a really big part of the community in New Mexico. Colorado Springs is literally the Olympic city. And we talked about it a couple times. She mentioned it a couple times. And then I turn around one day and we're having the senior games in Colorado Springs because of how important Joey thought it was, and because of her ability to bring the right players to the table to get that event here in Colorado and in Colorado Springs, which I have to say, things that come out of our communities in Southern Colorado usually come from our communities in Southern Colorado. So the fact that Joey thought it was so important to have it here in our state, and she took the time to come down and build relationships in Colorado Springs and make sure that we got this fantastic event set up for what I hope to be many years to come, I think is incredibly impressive. And I invited Joey to come and present to us because I really want, number one, I want to know how you did it, Joey. And number two, please share with us, the secret sauce behind getting this national event back in our state, because I want to make sure that if Joey's not the touch point 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 years from now, that we leave a legacy for the people who come after us, so that they're able to build such a wonderful event down the road. So Joey, I will hand it over to you, and I'm really excited to hear your presentation today.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate it. And thank you, Madam Chair and members of the group. I'm extremely pleased to be here and to listen to your meeting, to attend your meeting. Thank you for allowing me to do that. I learned a lot in that process. And now I want to talk about the Colorado Senior Games. And so, as Erin said, I lived in New Mexico for 50 years, and Senior Games, we called them Senior Olympics, was a major event in New Mexico. We actually hosted the national games in 2016, and so I was very familiar. My history goes way back into Ernesto, who was the one who was responsible for bringing the senior games to New Mexico. And I served on a number of committees. I volunteered for the national games. And then I moved to Colorado in 2020, and I was listening to a morning program, and I was listening to a gentleman complain that he had to go to Nebraska to qualify. He lived in Colorado, but he had to go to Nebraska to qualify to participate in the national senior games. And I was astounded. And as Erin said, what came out of that was, are you kidding me? Colorado is the Olympic capital of the world. What do you mean we don't have senior games in Colorado? This just didn't make any sense to me. And I was at the time on the Next 50 board, so I went marching into the Next 50 board because, after all, I'm new to Colorado and confused about all of this. And I said, "What? We don't have senior games in Colorado?" And they said, "What is that?" And so we went through a little bit of discussion, and then finally I just said, "Okay, this is what I want. I want three things. I want senior games in Colorado. I want a comprehensive directory in Colorado, and I want a cabinet secretary for aging in Colorado. These are the three things that I want to work on while I'm in Colorado." And so in June, last June, when I was at the Colorado Commission gathering in Loveland, Colorado, I had the opportunity to speak with Jared Hughes from the governor's office. And I said, "I'm just going to take advantage of this opportunity. I may not have another time to do this, but I think you're the person I should talk to, and I want you to hear my three wishes." And so he heard my three wishes, and his response to the senior games was, "I think we're getting someplace on this. Keep wishing for it, and I will keep you posted." And I got an email from him in August of last year, and he said, "I think we're moving forward. And let me introduce you to Megan Latham at the Colorado Sports Corporation, and take it from there." And so I reached out to Megan, who is the president and CEO of the Colorado Sports Corporation in Colorado Springs. And I connected with her, and we continued to exchange emails back and forth. And then in September, I got the announcement that they were ready to announce that senior games would be coming to Colorado Springs, and would I come down to Colorado Springs and attend that launch. And so I did that. And at that time, I found out that it was Colorado Springs Corporation with Megan, and then the partnership with the YMCA of Pikes Peak region that were behind this initiative. And I immediately signed up to volunteer and said, whatever I can do, money-wise, physical-wise, whatever you need me to do, I'm on board. And now, of course, the senior games started for the first time in Colorado on June 6th through 8th of 2025. I think there's a little bit of back history on this, that they came and went for a number of years, and the last thing I heard was that there was a question about management in 2018, so it completely went away. But the good news is that Colorado is now part of the national organization, and Colorado has this distinction of being the last state to join the national conference, the national group. But we're in it. And we've got our one senior game under our belt. It was extremely successful. Yay, yay, yay. I volunteered for track and field. And I can tell you that the oldest person that participated in those senior games happened to be on track and field. I met her. She's 90 years old. She did the 50-meter dash, the javelin throw, and the triple jump. And she's 90 years old. And I was very, very fortunate, because as a volunteer, I was able to hand out the gold medals, silver medals, and bronze medals. And she thanked me very much and said, no, thank you. I've got enough of them. I don't need any more of them. So she did not accept the gold. She's from California. She did not accept it. But the senior games this year, there were 600 athletes, 17 sports were represented, and we'll be looking forward to expansion for next year. Pickleball was extremely exciting and inclusive in this particular season, but I see it just exploding next year. And next year, the games will be qualifying so that the participants participating in the senior games in Colorado will be able to go to national. National is being held this year in Des Moines, Iowa, and it's at the end of July. But we have years to come. And Megan told me when I was there for the event that they are planning on putting in their bid to host the national meetings in 2031. So keep your fingers crossed, and we might be a national host for senior games in Colorado, and I'll look forward to that. So that's where we are, gang, and I'm just thrilled. That's one of my wishes coming true. I'm still working on the comprehensive directory, and I'm moving forward on that. I hope I can get someplace with that. If anybody's got interest in that, I see that as a deficit, and we really need to work on that. All services need to be available and easy to get to through a comprehensive directory for the state. And I'm still working on hoping that there will be a cabinet secretary for aging, just like there was in New Mexico. Thank you. Any questions? I'll be happy to answer.
Joey, I don't
Thank
have
you.
a question, but just more of a comment. So I appreciate everything you have done here locally and also through the state of Colorado. I too was not aware that we were not part of the Senior Olympics and being home to Olympics City, USA. But everything you have done, I truly believe you deserve a huge round of applause. So thank you very much, what you have done here in the community. And I'm going to have to basically get up on the skills of doing some pickleball. So thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions for Joey?
So this is Melissa. Hi, Joey. I'm the Program Development Administrator with the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging.
Sure.
And the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging, we were the volunteer sponsor organization for the senior games. We were happy to be able to do that. And myself and Carolyn, one of the Commission on Aging members on the call today who can't unmute herself, we were at the track and field event as well, hanging out that day and meeting the athletes and talking to them. And it was really, really an impressive day for sure. And we are looking forward to the kind of closeout party that's happening on the 31st here in town.
Right.
And I wondered if you were coming to that.
I am.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. My plan is to do that. Yes, for sure.
Well, that'll be fun to meet you in person there. And I know that we had a couple of other commissioners who were going to be interested in checking out some of the other events. And I haven't gotten confirmation yet if other commissioners or PPAAA staff are going to join me at that event on the 31st, but hopefully there will be a few other folks with me. So you're welcome to reach out, but do it soon because I have to RSVP spots with the Colorado Springs Sports Corps. So, and Carolyn, I don't know if you want to try to unmute yourself. I'll just share briefly. Carolyn's husband, he actually did video editing work for national and international athletic events. And he knew exactly where to go and what to do, and get pictures of people. He was a real great volunteer to have with us that day, because he just kind of he was out there on the field on his back, taking pictures of people jumping over him. I mean, he knew exactly what to do. So that was kind of fun that Carolyn had a husband who could do that, and he was with us that day. So anyway, and she's saying she still can't unmute herself yet, but so thank you, Joey. And it was really fun to hear that there's this kind of a connection with you and all the behind the scenes work that kind of happened. So thank you for doing that. And any other comments for Joey?
No,
I
but
have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Darren.
Yeah, I have a question for Joey. And I would put it as thinking about how to capture the lightning in the bottle from what you were able to accomplish here, getting your dream realized. And I just have to say, for anybody here who doesn't know Joey, Joey's a lady who gets stuff done. Like, if there's something to be done, Joey gets it done. So let's say in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, or at any time in the future, we're living here in Colorado Springs, and it's a Sunday and we're out on the town, and we think, what ever happened to the Colorado Senior Games? How would you suggest that we would reignite something, or to reframe the question a little bit, since we have such great momentum right now, what do you think our best strategy is as members of the community who are really engaged with age-friendly outdoor activities, like making sure that this event continues to happen? What is our best strategy for keeping it going right now?
So, Erin, excellent question. And I think the observation that I made when I was in Colorado Springs as a volunteer, because I'm not part of that community, but boy, did I connect in that community. And I walked away with business cards, and we shared all kinds of things. And we had that kind of camaraderie, because I'm not an athlete. I mean, I'm an athlete, but I'm not a competitive athlete. So I wasn't a participant, but I was a volunteer. So I had an opportunity to spend some time with the athletes and really get to know. And the thing that I found so impressive was, yes, we had 90-year-olds. Yes, we had a huge number that spanned between 70 and 90. And I've got some really significant stories that I could share and spend hours telling you about people that I met and their backstory. But I will tell you that there were lots of people in their 50s, lots of people in their 50s. And they came up and talked to me. And what they said was, I haven't done this since college, and I thought I should get re-engaged. Well, they're going to be back next year, and they're going to be going for many, 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 many years. And so I think the momentum is there. And I think that I would encourage you to blast out the website that is really comprehensive and really discusses what's available for the Senior Games. And it's real simple. It's coloradoseniorgames.org. And it talks about all of the events that we have so far. And these are kinds of things that, that lots and lots of people do. I mean, this is not something that just seniors do. But pickleball was phenomenal across the country. And if you ran into pickleball people from all across the country, they've got their little groups and they've got their little jazzed up folks that they can't wait to see every year at the Senior Games. And so that's, that in itself is big. And we know that pickleball is even growing in Colorado significantly. So there's tons of things, but I was so impressed with the young people that were competing, because I know that they will carry this for years, and it'll be lots of fun. And I have to tell you a personal story. I came back from the senior event, told my 13-year-old granddaughter, who's a gymnast, that I had such an exciting time. And of course, she gets her fair share of gold medals in her gymnastics. And I said, I got to hand out gold medals. It was so much fun. And she said, Grandma, where was I when you were doing this? And I said, well, it was a Saturday. It was a couple of Saturdays ago. And I think you were probably in the gym for just your gymnastics workout. And she said, oh my gosh, I would have loved to have gone with you. Could I be there? Would I have been able to volunteer? And I said, I'm sure you would have. Were there other kids there? I said, yes, they were with their moms and dads who were volunteering, and they were there for their grandfather who was participating. Oh, I need to do that with you because I'm going to be one of those 90-year-olds competing in the senior games. So this is it. It's for everybody. It's not just for seniors, it's for everybody. And all you have to do is go to their website and sign up and get prepared, because we're going to be there again in next year, and then we'll qualify to go to the nationals. So yeah, I think it's going to last for a long time. And we're the best state, I think, because we have such active people at all levels. So that's my answer.
What's the youngest?
That's wonderful.
What's the age? What's the low range of the age limit?
50 plus.
50 plus. Nice.
50 plus. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
We could all do it. We got a room full right here that are going to sign up.
Okay.
We're going to have a pickleball pack.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. And I love your tenacity, and it's very contagious, Joey. Thank you. I look forward to meeting you in person someday.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me join. And I am going to leave and go back to my kids, my grandkids.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joey. Thank you.
Been a pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Next up is another presentation I'm very excited to hear, and that's from our JAWS students. And Penny, I'm going to let you introduce and welcome them in. Thank you.
No, not yet. There you go.
Okay, that's why I hang out with high school to be college students, because I have no idea how to do this. I am delighted. So thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, commissioners and AAA for inviting us today to give you a snapshot of what this JAWS program is that I say I represent. And JAWS stands for Jumpstart Aging Workforce Solutions. So today, the main act will be the two young ladies and leaders, JAWS leaders, that will be sharing their experiences and hopefully answering questions and having conversation with you. But McKenna Miller is a June graduate from District 49. That was an incredibly important new school district that was added to the JAWS programming this year. And the enthusiasm that McKenna shows demonstrates the energy of the program's growth. Then I have Esme Gonzalez, who represents Fountain Fort Carson High School District 8. Esme, too, graduated in June. And Fountain Fort Carson is important because it was the very first school district to say, yeah, I think we can participate in this. And with 8 students, we have grown to over 200 students in 2 years. So my colleagues will share their experiences. But for context, let's go through just what JAWS is, where it came from, a little bit about what it does, preparing for the conversation you will have with McKenna and Esme. The presentation that we're going to be viewing is actually one that was done in April for an Anschutz I Know Care group, which is the Anschutz Long-Term Care Research Group. And Melissa and several members of the Ombudsman team attended the presentation. Both McKenna and Esme were participants in that presentation. And I think that it gives the strength and the reputation that through the young students involved in JAWS, they are the statewide voice. And so we're going to be using the same presentation that we used for our Anschutz. So what am I not doing right here? There we go. JAWS was born early 2020. The concept for JAWS was born early 2020. Think back, COVID now is almost history, ancient history in some minds. But if you remember back, as COVID was beginning to get its clutches on the state and nursing homes began to close early on, initially there were 7 nursing homes in the state that closed. The horrifying part is of those 7, 4 were in El Paso County. And Steve, that was really the red flag that allowed us to develop a relationship with El Paso County that led to an ARPA grant that was given to UCCS with the goal of developing a community model to help support the workforce in long-term care. Down should be down. Right. Thank you. And so out of the pandemic, a dark time, JAWS was born. JAWS was a 2-year grant project, an ARPA grant project to UCCS. It completed, the funding completed in November of 2024. This is just a snapshot of what came out of an initial community convening. And this was one of the strengths as we look back on JAWS, is that JAWS was not something that was thought of, that was imposed, but it actually came from the coming together of community members, long-term care professionals, educators, K through 12, higher ed, and community leaders. Out of those original convenings, we had 3 buckets that we decided and were guided and encouraged to do by the community. Develop a program for high school students. For years, long-term care providers had told me, as I worked in the sector, nobody young is interested in the work we do. And the educators said, how can we help, both from a high school level and from a university level? And then the educators said, we can help support relationships between our programs and long-term care. The University of Colorado said, we've already got an internship program in place. Let's add the older sector. And then this third sector that was identified by community leaders was the older worker. Don't forget the older workers in Colorado Springs, particularly. We have a significant veteran population and people that still need to have the income, and people, many people that are retired and continue want to have purpose. So net, when we finished the program grant, the high school component, the JAWS CTE program that we call it, had over 4,000 hours of work-based learning. What that consisted of, 5 different programs of 15-hour internships, and then both of my colleagues, my young colleagues, were involved in pilot patient care technician programs. That represented over 225 long-term care experiences. Some of those students last summer had over 60 hours of internships in a variety of long-term care environments. The same was true, even though the numbers weren't so high, for the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. UCCS is going to continue to develop and focus on the long-term care workforce sector as a primary goal, both for health science students and nursing students. And now the focus for the JAWS framework is going to be working collaboratively with UCCS to try to develop an older worker profit. And we are looking forward to use that as the body that will help propel the high school JAWS program to the next level. I talked about 5 programs. We started with a 15-hour Welcome to Long-Term Care. 5 students partner with long-term care communities, nursing homes, assisted living, Cheyenne Village for the IDD group home population. We have hospice and other providers that allow students to come in and understand the many different career opportunities and the importance of the work they do. So these are our 5 core curriculums. Working and volunteering in long-term care, welcome to memory care. Students are fascinated, Paula, with the world of dementia care. Welcome to leadership. Tim Cunning at Cheyenne Village does a whole unit on what the leadership requirements are for a business that cares for a long-term care population. He focuses on communication and also team development. And then I have a program that we call the JAWS Student Leaders. And through the students that say, yeah, I want to be a part of that, they are doing multiple community presentations and are willing to be the voice of JAWS. There are 6 programs that students that have been a part of JAWS have said, help us. Can you get a 15-hour program? We've done an initial pilot in physical therapy. The role of a physician in long-term care is of high interest. Hospice care, we've done a pilot there. Many students are interested in pediatric long-term care, the idea of elder justice, the legal interface with long-term care, and neurology, looking at the many different areas of neuroscience that impact long-term care. Not only do students do the classroom, the 15-hour internships, but like McKenna and Esme, they're involved in community. There were teams from District 8 that presented JAWS at HOSA last year. We will be hearing about a narrative project and a student volunteer project that are being led by students. We had a group at HOSA from District 8 that partnered with the Alzheimer's disease and related dementia group from the state Public Health Association, presenting on the importance of dementia awareness. And we are finding additional ways, senior games might be one, that JAWS can become additional community advocates. These were the presentation style slides for the students, but these are some of the photos that show students in place. This is the Liberty Heights team, the business team that welcomes the JAWS students. And it would be impossible to do this if we didn't have business partners. UCCS interns have added a level of continuity. So McKenna, for example, will be going to UCCS. She will have the opportunity to meet JAWS participants at UCCS so that she and some of the others will have a continuity line of relationships. This picture is particularly powerful. It is of the UCCS students. They are with a group of retired sisters from the Catholic Church. But what absolutely compels me about this, look at the smiles, the intergenerational activity. They meet, the UCCS students meet and do exercises, and they have developed an intergenerational community. And the sisters, as the students graduate, actually go to all of their graduation activities. So it's not
for seniors only. And it's a patient care technician class that gives you a certificate at the end of the school year after completing the adequate test elders in the community. And I did talk with many other classmates, and they agreed that they were all pretty nervous and we were all cautionary about it. However, the first few hours that I had in my internship, me and my friends, we all really agreed that it was not at all like how we had imagined it. And we were all just so surprised and grateful to have been introduced to JAWS. We gained so many benefits from this, not only in our classroom, but in just our personal lives. So me personally and my other friend Tanya, we went to memory care, which it's the dementia patients, and there is where we really found some meaningful connections, and we were able to just sit down and talk one-on-one with a lot of separate dementia residents, and that's when we realized that this was something that we were really, really enjoying, and it was not at all what we thought it would be. And even talking to some other students in my PCT class, even if they didn't find some personal connection with it, they could see how beneficial it was in the classroom, because it's one thing seeing the PCT books and reading about all the things that are involved in a long-term care facility and what caregivers need to do in order to keep the residents safe and healthy. But it's another to actually experience that and be a part of it when you're shadowing the nurses and you're just shadowing all the doctors and being able to see everything that goes into the network of a long-term care facility. But there was a lot of students, many of my classmates, who also did feel that personal connection with all the residents. And that's when Tanya and I got together and we asked Penny right after our internship hours were over. We were wondering if this was it for us, because we really wanted to keep going and keep being part of the Bear Creek community, which is the long-term care facility that we were at doing our hours at. And so we got together and we asked a couple of our classmates as well what they would think of a volunteer program, so that we could just get some additional hours, not even so much focused on the technicalities of like the PCT and getting the work experience, but just being there and connecting with the residents, because we really did enjoy just being able to listen to their stories or doing activities with them, playing board games, drawing with them. And soon after too, we were assigned a school project where we had to talk about the impact of JAWS and what it did on our learning experience and our personal growth. And that's when we were able to go back to Bear Creek. And we also did interact with the same residents that we had been with at our internship. And we found out then that it wasn't only beneficial to us, but we also saw the impact that we did have on the residents there, as they all shared their positive experiences with us and how they really did wish that more of the youth came into the facilities. So we're currently working on a volunteer program and seeing how we can develop that further with Bear Creek Senior Living. Is there any questions before I pass it on to McKenna?
Oh, thank you. Do you have grandparents that inspired you to be interested in seniors, or is this something that you found on your own?
That was generally the most surprising thing to me as well, is that my grandparents, the ones that I have gotten to know in my family, it's not very typical. Like I was not aware at all really of what long-term care facilities were, because it's not a common practice in my family. So I had really never thought of the amount of residents out there in long-term care facilities that maybe don't have grandkids around like us to like for me it was really surprising to see because I don't have anyone in long-term care facilities, so that's why I was so cautionary when I went into JAWS, and I was so surprised when I liked it because I didn't really have any experiences like that. So that's why I truly think this could also be for every student, because one could think that, oh well, I have, for example, a grandparent who has dementia, and that's why I feel so connected to this, but I didn't have any experience like that, and I was just blown away by this program. So, anything else? All right, thank you. I'm gonna pass it on to McKenna now. It's a little tall. Can you guys all hear me? Yes. Okay, hi, my name is McKenna, and I'm a former student from Sand Creek High School in District 49, and I'm here to talk a little bit about how specifically our school got connected with JAWS and also a narrative program that I'm co-developing with JAWS right now. So our school is very fortunate. We have an instructor who's been a nurse for over 30 years, which gave us the opportunity. Any senior who's completed the prerequisite courses could sign up for our medical capstone class. And like D8, you can get your phlebotomy, PCT, and QMAP certifications. But we kind of ran into a problem, and that is to get these certifications, you have to have clinical hours. And that's where JAWS comes in. So we partnered with them, and they got us in contact with Liberty Heights Long-Term Care Facility. And that's where our students did their hours. And I think what was really cool to see is that this wasn't just students getting their hours, but it was them getting experience in our community. Nowhere else, it was our community. And I think that's what really mattered. And so after that, it was also cool to see that that was really our first experience branching into the community. And from JAWS 1 and 2 that our students participated in, now we have students doing internships at UC Health, LabCorp, and really all over the Springs. But it was JAWS that really kickstarted that. And from that came the idea for a narrative program. It was really cool to hear how many students were excited and just had a great time listening to the resident stories. It wasn't something I was expecting. It was really refreshing to hear. And we also recognized that just like D8, we had opportunities other schools didn't. And that is, it's really hard to get your foot in the door, especially in the medical space when you don't have certifications, because there's a lot of legal hoops you have to jump through. And that's really where this came from, is it's an opportunity for the other schools. So after you'd completed the other JAWS program, for students who wanted to keep doing this, it would kind of act as it would have 3 different pathways, and it gives students the opportunity to listen to the resident stories and hear what they have to share. The first pathway would be for writers, and they would come in and listen to what the residents have to share and write it in the form of maybe a diary or a journal for them, or maybe it inspires a poem or a short story. And I think the importance comes from the creative freedom that the resident and the student have. And then also based on interest, they could get paired with residents and students who have maybe an interest in art. If you've ever been to Liberty Heights, you know how much they love hanging up the artwork that their residents make. And we also have a fairly big art community. And I think that would be really a really impactful way to bridge the gap that we have between our youth and older generations. And from that also came the idea of having a third option, and that is at Sand Creek we have a very big music community. As someone who's a part of that, I play viola. I thought about how impactful it would also be to have, this would be for very specific students and residents, but people with an interest in music to have pieces composed based on what the resident has to share. And all of this, I think the end goal would really to be having this be bigger than just the students and the residents. Like Penny was saying, we got to talk to some state ombudsmen who have connections with a group that participates in a film festival every fall, and they were very, very interested in this. And the idea is that this could be a book or a documentary, that the artwork can be a part of like the chapter headings, that the soundtrack can be the pieces that the students composed, and that it can really reach more than just students and residents, but our entire community. And personally, for me, I really see the benefit in this because as someone who is adopted, I don't have a direct connection to my culture, but I grew up in a lot of other cultures. I was in Kenya for a little bit, and my second language when I was a kid was Chinese. And in all of these cultures, I see that something we're really missing is the value that we place on our elderly. In all of these communities that I spent time in and grew up, you didn't just put your elderly into homes. The parents took care of the kids, and then the kids took care of the parents, and they became their caregivers. And so they always had such a tight-knit community. And I think that we've lost a lot of that because we've become so individualistic. I think people like to laugh that like older people don't know how to use technology, but why aren't we teaching them? I think that it's really important to bridge these gaps and to even involve the families. I think that would be the most impactful part, is that these stories shouldn't just be shared with our community, but the families too. Again, I didn't get the chance to ask, who am I and where am I from? And it's astounding that so many people aren't more interested in hearing that from the people that are family. So I think this where a lot of the regret comes from, is not asking and only realizing before it's too late. I never got the chance to ask. And so I feel like because I see that value now, it's my duty to share that with people. So, yeah.
I think it's pretty easy to see why I like hanging out with these ladies and others like them. But these are two examples. And what I think is remarkable, they have graduated. They have chosen to take leadership in the student volunteer program development and the narrative project. And I think you hear that they have very clear ideas of what these programs and projects can look like. I think a lot of the satisfaction of seeing students engaged in intergenerational activities is just exactly what we saw today. Students sharing with other community members, and they're eager to do it. So if you know of other groups that would be interested, please let us know, because we have students that have stories to tell and they have leadership ideas that they would love to share. Other questions, because conversation is where the energy is found with these two. Bill, Steve.
Not necessarily a question, but I think I can speak for most of us. We're floored at your skills and your wisdom for your age and your enthusiasm of this intergenerational impact. It's just wonderful.
Thank you for having me.
I have a question too. And Jody, we're we're catching up with you guys.
We're catching our breath.
Go ahead.
So I'm just again, kudos to Jaws and Penny for launching something, but then having that something lead to like next steps that you wouldn't have even imagined, i.e. the volunteering, kind of intergenerational at Bear Creek, and then the kind of robust art kind of thing at Liberty Heights, however that kind of looks. So I'm curious for both of you guys, are you into next steps with both of your programs, or are you taking the summer off? Kind of where are you guys at with both of your projects, if you have a second to share?
So, is it on? Okay, sorry. So we have currently, I'm working with my partner right now on as the leaders sort of the volunteer program, Tanya and I. We have met with I believe we've met with leaders at Bear Creek, and we're trying to get everything approved right now to kind of figure out just all the paperwork really and the technicalities of it. But we have had a couple meetings at Bear Creek and talked extensively about like the volunteer program, and then we're also looking to sort of do the narrative program as well at Bear Creek. So we have talked about it, yes, and we have constantly been showing up at Bear Creek to sort of keep showing that, oh, we're still interested in this. So.
Is that showcasing? about that too, because that is another important piece of the resident council, where you share your ideas with the residents. And
oh, right. Sorry. Right. That was also another thing. I'm sorry. We're gonna go to Bear Creek too soon. I believe it's this upcoming month, and we're gonna present our ideas not only to like the leaders of Bear Creek, but also the residents, because they have as much right to be involved in what is going to be happening at the facility. So we are also gonna be talking there and seeing if there's any ideas that they have, because they also, I mean, you get the most valuable ideas from them. I mean, they know what they want to do. So that's another thing too, as well, that was part of the volunteer program that I was considering, is like them maybe mentioning activities that they are interested in doing with the students, and then the students being able to organize that and bring in any like materials or any other ideas, and just make it really a collaborative thing.
I think that's so important, because I was you 30 plus years ago, and the facility I started working in, we were told it is their home and we are guests in their home. So zeroing in on their wants and their voices is huge, because you can talk to leadership all day long, and bottom line, their leadership and they need to make bottom line, but your people are your residents and it is their home. They're there forever. So I love that you are focusing on that, because they are why leadership has a job, right?
They're the focus.
Yep.
So the same thing about the resident council is I think it was supposed to be yesterday, and then it got moved, which I'm actually kind of happy.
Oh,
right. It was actually kind of good for me because I was out of state for a family emergency. But bringing the framework to the resident council that I actually wrote up myself, and it's already been brought to the leadership team at Liberty Heights, and that kind of got ran through. So it's really talking to them and getting their approval, not just because we want to know if they're okay with it, because it's also really important to pair our students and residents the right way with this project. It's really important. And yeah, after that, I'm going to be a part of one of the students piloting it. And I believe I was also supposed to be the only student at the resident council meeting. So, and after that, hopefully it'll start.
So just to, when you made the comment about why aren't we teaching them,
Mm-hmm.
that resonated for me, because you had also made the comment about the individualism and how that's destroyed community and generational kinds of things. And the vision that came to mind is it's obvious in terms of you all teaching and sharing your skills to help the older person, but it goes back the other way as well. And so I'm thinking, Penny, anything to do this back and forth, so it's not just younger people coming in and saying, anybody wants to learn, we'll teach. Explore with those long-term care facilities what skills are there that they can then share back with the students. So there's this constant back and forth going. And then the other thing that crossed my mind is how to begin to bridge this program to provide quality support and learning for family members in their homes who are struggling, feeling isolated, kind of a thing. How can we help you bridge that? Because it's working with facilities is it's important to do, but it's also kind of like the low fruit, because it's there.
captive.
It's captive. The bigger challenge is, how do we figure to take this concept? How can we make it work in because families, the statistics that I had are right now, early on, there was 6 family members for 1 elder who needed caregiving in the home, family-wise. And it has worked, and now in 2030, it's down to 1 out of 3 or 4. In 2050, when all of the boomers are pretty much 80 and older, it's down to 1 to 2. So for every family member, there's only going to be 2. So the whole premise that we've based family caregiving on, in terms of family members will be around to care for the older family members, that's out the door because the numbers don't support it. And so JAWS is a wonderful way, if we can figure out a way to do that, to begin to have I dropped the word, surrogate kind of, so you have adopted, quote, adopted family members, however you want to, that are there to step in to provide that support, to provide that community, to provide that interdependence.
I think that's really a good idea, and I think that out of our connections with like the state ombudsman and all of that, the hope is that it does become more than just students doing this. I think it's especially important because we have such a big military community. So even then, it's that our residents might have family who are stationed overseas and can't even physically be here. And I really do think that's incredibly important.
I mean, a starting point could be because, and I was never able to pull this into effect, and it still comes around, the neighborhood watch groups. Okay, that's something that's already working. Why not look at students in the JAWS program who are in particular neighborhoods? Is their neighborhood participating in neighborhood watch, and using the neighborhood watch program and incorporate somehow, not to recreate the wheel, but use a neighborhood watch group as that focal point to begin. So if you've got students who are living in a neighborhood where there's neighborhood watch, how could the concept of JAWS be incorporated so that they can support those seniors within their neighborhood?
It is. I mean, what I sort of see happening, would there be, I don't know where the energy for the organization, but having some sort of round table where students, my guess is these 2 would probably be there. I know that there are other students that have key representatives, maybe the Commission on Aging, other community representatives, to really brainstorm what that could look like. Do you see that as an outgrowth opportunity?
Absolutely. And that's another wonderful thing I want to point out about JAWS as well, is that there's always so many ideas. Every time we do speak about JAWS, we always do get wonderful new ideas. And I just believe that since JAWS is also, it's just such a wide range of students, and students always, they hear an idea and they stick with it. And that's the students who all become leaders and start to actually put those plans into action. So thank you for that.
You want to sign up, Ken?
Yeah.
Okay. Ladies, we have our first community volunteer. All right.
Yeah, because I think it would be worth exploring in terms of brainstorming and figuring out how to begin to get some traction and get a model set up, at least in 1 or 2 places.
Well, absolutely, because there are family members that have no contact with their older family member, and that's not because they're not close. It's on purpose. So
I'll just share really briefly couple of comments. First of all, looking around the table here, probably, what do you think, guys? 150 to 200 years of senior services, and I think, and including folks online, I think we can all unanimously agree that we're very excited to see the JAWS program and you all as the outcome of the JAWS program. When Penny approached us saying, we got this grant, it's ARPA funded, it's short term, what can we get done? Looking at 2 years ago now, with starting with 8 students and now more than 200, and I think you have created not just quantity but a quality of student representation who've effectively learned the power of collaboration amongst themselves, amongst long-term care communities, understanding that there are folks who want to make more of the situation they find themselves in, whether they're staff or whether they're residents, and to the point that this is their home. It just looks very different. And how can we make that better? I think you all have really landed on that and come up with these ideas and making sure that you're connecting through resident council and individually. That's huge, to make sure that they're engaged in that process. So huge applause to you all for the JAWS program, to students here. Well, we can't call you students anymore because right now you're not students, right? But participants. Yes, participants. Yes, community leaders. I think we can all agree that with this program continuing to move forward, we can see aging in El Paso County being something to look forward to. So thank you very much, Penny. Thank you. And Esme and McKenna, thank you very much for being here with us today.
Can I take a moment to speak to the students before they step away as well?
Sure.
Yeah, there are so many things about what you said that resonated with me, from the fact that you weren't, one of you was saying you weren't quite sure that this was an environment for you, and then you stepped in and it was magical. That was exactly my experience working in long-term care. It was the job I took out of my master's degree in speech therapy, and I just didn't really know, and I ended up loving it. We hear this story a lot. A lot of people who work in senior services, they say, well, I ended up here in an accident. When we're playing with our dolls, when we're younger, we're playing with our peers, when we're in kindergarten, a lot of us are not acting out working in a long-term care facility, right? So it's a career path that we kind of stumble into. And I know very few people who have not enjoyed working intergenerationally like you have. And I have a question for you guys about ageism and how much you feel that ageism has sort of impacted your path getting to where you are now in the JAWS program. Like, have you reflected on age bias in our culture and how it might have kept you from pursuing what you're finding now to be really meaningful work?
I don't know if I can say it's been too much of a personal challenge, because what I see more is it being a challenge externally for people who are older. I think that Penny made it really easy for me to find these spaces and be like, these students have voices that matter. I think that really what I see is more a focus on there's such a lack of connection and just bridging that. Because I think that the ageism may come a little more from the student side than anyone else, and that kind of bias against wanting to work with older people. And I think that it really does stem from the lack of activity in our community between our younger and older generations.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. And then, I would leave you both with this final thought, is that I work a lot in tech, and there are a lot of companies that are building AI solutions for some of the things that you've talked about. One of which being having people sit together and helping people write stories, or having people write music. There are tech solutions now, AI solutions, where you might just enter some information into an app and then boom, you get a book, boom, you get a piece of music based on that person's life. And I see so much value in the opportunity for growing as a human when we're sitting together and spending time like that together. And I would encourage you both, no matter what direction you go, to be a voice for the value of humans sitting together. Because there's certainly a benefit to AI, there's certainly a benefit to tech tools. And there will be so much lost. I mean, everything that you were saying about being present with people, there will be so much lost if we think that we can serve aging only through technology. So we have a group that is meeting monthly that talks about responsible development of technology that works with older adults. And in addition to the Colorado Center for Aging, that's a policy-based organization, I would love for you both to have the opportunity to get involved if you want to look at the future state of serving older adults in our community through technology and give your voice to what you have seen and what you've experienced.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we'll both be really interested in that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both for speaking today. It was wonderful.
Kathy, did you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to commend these two young ladies. Their maturity and wisdom is amazing. And I think this segues well into all our work groups because they kind of touched on every work group we have, the subcommittees. And I think they would be a welcome member on any of them.
They do have lives outside of this
I'm sure
aging scene, but yeah, we would welcome them anywhere, anytime, any place. Thank you so much for your sharing. Okay.
All right. And as Kathy brought up work groups, I'm looking at the clock and I'm wondering if I can make a recommendation. I know the housing subcommittee, the housing and transit, Steve and Phil have some really important information to get in front of the Commission on Aging today. And for the sake of time, I'm wondering if we can have them share their information and then I will call the chairs of the other committees and just get kind of a summary of what they've done and send that out to the commission, if that's okay.
Yep, I'm fine with that.
I don't.
Yes.
Everyone's shaking their heads.
So, Madam Chair, Steve Schleicher, and with Phil, just want to give you an update with what Phil and I have been working on with the housing and transportation. One of the things that Phil and I spoke about is, and really what we have is a shared value, is that we have a commitment to our seniors aging in place. And it was great to hear about the background that Phil has and Phil, listening to my diatribe of what my background is. But one of the things that we wanted to share with you, and it really goes to the what Jared shared a little bit ago, is we are really looking into the possibility of a special session coming up here in August. And I think that is a very good possibility. With that being said, is we are looking at, nearly $1 billion state deficit. And historically, when the state has a deficit problem, one of the very first programs that is eliminated is the senior homestead exemption. Statewide, that price tag comes in a bit over $200 million. And it's very easy for some of those legislators to go, hey, we're a quarter of a way there. I will share with you, last week I went down for the Fountain Valley Senior Center 50th anniversary, and Madam Chair, I felt pretty old. Because I sat there and I was like, wait a minute, I celebrated my 6th birthday there. My birthday was on June 25th, and the Senior Center opened June 26th of 1973. So I was like, these folks in Fountain are aging me, and this is not cool. But it was a great thing, in front of the city council members. But ironically, across the street, was a town hall being hosted by Senator Mark Schneider and also Senate President James Coleman. So myself and Representative Mary Bradfield walked across the street and joined them, and it was a very good conversation, and they both too feel that the governor's going to call a special session. Some of the things that Mark and Senator Coleman and I spoke about was the senior homestead exemption and the concerns, because in the mid-2000s, if you remember, there was a handful of years where it was not funded, and it hurt a lot of seniors where if they weren't able to pay their taxes, sadly, by state law, their home goes to tax sale and allows an investor to come in and put a lien on their property, which is something I think is horrible. But with that being said, is the both of them absolutely agreed that to them and the work that they do up there, that would be the last resort, is to defund the senior homestead exemption. In addition to that, is Senator Coleman asked me if I were to sit there and be a legislator, which will never happen because this personality does not belong under the Golden Dome. So, Jody, I think you know that. But I sat there and he said, what would you do? And I said, we need to basically pass a constitutional amendment that the exemption is no longer reviewed annually for funding, that it is constitutionally funded each and every year by the excess Tabor revenues here in the state of Colorado. With that being said, is Phil and I met earlier prior to this meeting, and we spoke with Melissa a little bit about this. And with the board's permission, what we would like to do is draft up a flyer of the importance of the senior homestead exemption for the counties that we represent here on the Commission of Aging, Park County, Teller County, El Paso County. And what we would like to do with that is share it with our state legislators, our state senators, and also our local representatives. I think it's valuable information. Melissa was sharing that we could probably talk about this in August, but I think that is way too late, especially if they're calling a special session mid-August, as Jared alluded to. So with that being said, is I'm really looking at board direction and board approval if this is something that Phil and I can also work on here in the next couple days.
And then the idea would be it would go up through the PPACG Legislative Committee and then onto the PPACG board kind of as quickly as possible.
And so do we need a motion to approve that action?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to approve Steve's action to go forward with a brochure?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
What's the action? Is that we are requesting from the PPACG board that we would create a one-pager about the impact to our constituents? Is that the action?
For clarification, Steve is proposing that he and Phil are requesting from the Commission on Aging board to create the flyer, which we would then take through the appropriate channels to distribute across the community.
Sure. Madam Chair, this is Jared. I'd love to get Steve's thought on this from a kind of a state law perspective. Is this going to throw us in concern with open meetings law? Because this specific topic wasn't noticed.
That's true. It's actually.
I mean, we have a report out, an update, but I'm a little concerned that if we start taking action on something that wasn't noticed.
Hit this.
So what we can do, and Jared clarify this with me, but we could put this as an addendum and post this and request a vote of the members with the appropriate timeline and open meetings vote. So it won't happen. The vote won't happen today. We'll draw it up as a motion. We can post it as a motion. We wait for the appropriate amount of time, and then you all can vote on it. The vote will come out to you by email, and we can go through that. So it'll be a few days, but we can make that happen. But it does have, yes, thank you for highlighting that. It does have to.
I just want to make sure I might be overanalyzing it unless Steve thinks that I'm being overly cautious, but you deal in this probably the second most than you probably deal with this more than I do. So I just wanted to double check if I'm being too cautious.
No, not at all. In fact, you're an amazing parliamentarian. So you're absolutely correct. So thank you, sir.
He's got a Robert's rules up there on his desk, and I love him for it. So, but we can make this happen very quickly. So, as a matter of housekeeping, for future things, please make sure that potential votes, we can always pull it back, but if there are potential votes, please make sure that they get into the agenda ahead of time. So, with that being said, just by a nod around the table and confirmation online, we will move forward with you all going ahead and drafting, and we will put that to a vote after the public notice of the vote. And you all will get an email. As a reminder, help me here, Jared, with this kind of vote, does it need to be a reply all or a singular reply?
Let me check. I intentionally avoid email meetings just because of the complexity of pulling it off.
Yeah.
But let me check. Yeah, just because this wouldn't qualify as a secret ballot.
Right.
Right. So yeah, it'd probably be a reply all. But as long as we notice it properly, we can do reply alls.
Okay. So normally we ask you not to reply all because of the Open Meetings Act. But in this case, as a vote for the most clarity, and we will ask you to do a reply all in your vote. And it will be a yes, no vote. So we'll have that spelled out. Did I get it all? Cool. All right. That's how we'll move forward with this to make it happen.
Great. Thank you, Jody, for
You're
your
welcome.
direction. So watch your emails closely. Thank you, Steve, for your report, and Phil for your work on this matter.
And if I may, Madam Chair, Steve and Phil, if you'll draft some language to that motion and get that to Melissa, and then Melissa and Jared could work on making that public. Well, thank you.
Okay, so we're on to item 9, discussion items. Does anybody have anything online or in the room? Seeing none, we have member entity announcements. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share with the commission? Everyone's looking down. No eye contact. No eye contact in the room. I'm taking that as a no. Oh, Steve's raising his hand. Great.
So, Madam Chair, I would just like to sit there and as we come to a close on this meeting is just share that I was highly impressed with the presentations that were done by Joey and the students, or not students, but soon to be college students for JAWS. Very interesting stuff, and I learned a lot today. So thank you for being here.
Gosh, thank you for your comments, Steve. That probably the best presentations we've had in the years that I've been on the commission. Outstanding, just outstanding. All right, our meeting schedule is listed on the agenda. We meet again on August 20th, 3 p.m. right here. Executive committee meetings are open to everyone. We meet the first Wednesday via Zoom at 9 a.m. If Melissa can send that link out to the group, anyone who would like to be a part of that can be. And then the policy committee meetings are to be determined, and our work group meeting times are listed on the agenda also. And if there's nothing else, we will adjourn this meeting. 5:01. Thank you so much. Thank you for those online. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.